Wildlife conservation. What is wildlife? To a common man, wildlife gives the impression of large animals living in forests such as tigers, lions, rhinos, wild buffaloes, etc. But the term wildlife refers to any living organism other than cultivated plants and domesticated animals. Mahajan defined wildlife as life in any form, either plant or animal, living in their natural surroundings. Why should we preserve wildlife? Ironically, with the advancement of civilization, industrialization, urbanization, and material prosperity of the people, man indiscriminately destroying the forests and their poor denizens. This was aptly put forward by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. In his own words, in spite of our culture and civilization, man continues to be wild, but more dangerous than the so-called animal. Each living creature has its own charm and beauty. We often fail to remember that once life taken cannot be put back. Once an animal made extinct cannot be brought back to life in spite of our technological advances. Often people ask us this question: why should we preserve wildlife? The idea of preservation of wildlife is not a new concept. For generations and centuries, it is our ideal and goal. It has historical, mythological and literary, religious and cultural, bioaesthetic and economic importance. In addition, wildlife is required for maintaining the balance of nature and also as genetic resource. Historical aspects. There is no human life without trees. We are dependent on trees. Trees are independent of us. Emperor Ashoka embarked upon the massive tree planting program. Bodhisattva had his enlightenment under Bodhi tree. Mughals have introduced a variety of exotic species into India and have become the architects for the famous Mughal gardens in Delhi, Agra and Srinagar. Mythological and literary aspects. Our mythology and Puranas are closely interwoven with wildlife. There is no Ramayana without deer. Sage Valmiki described the dense forests and mentioned about the Sanjeevani plant, which is said to revive the dead person. In our ancient literature like Mahabhagavatam, Manu Charitra, Vasu Charitra, we find lucid descriptions of blossoming of trees, the sequence of flowering during spring. The curative and medicinal properties of various herbs and trees were mentioned in Rig Veda and Atharvana Veda. Kalidasa's literary creations like Raghuvamsam and Avijnana Shakuntalam were set in sylvan surroundings of forests. In Panchatantra, the main characters are animals only. Religious and cultural aspects. In Hindu religion, trees and animals are sanctified. Darbha grass is used in Yajna Homam. Tulasi plant and Jammi Vruksha are worshipped. Sandalwood paste is used in temple worship along with various species of flowers. Hindu gods have animals as vahanas. Peacock is the vahanam to Lord Subramanyeshwara. Lion to goddess Durga. Seshatalpa, the snake. Garuda, the bird, are to Lord Vishnu. Mushikam to Lord Vinayaka. Bioaesthetic aspects. The bioaesthetic value of plants and trees are well known, particularly in parks and as avenue plants. Gorenta leaves are used by ladies. Beautiful ladies' walk is described as Gaja Gamana, and eyes as Beta Harinekshana. The best and beautiful paintings of Indian art and sculptures have the subjects of trees, forests and lakes as basis. In short, beauty, whenever and wherever is considered eternal, is identified with trees and animals. Economical aspects. India has rich biological diversity, much of which is present in forests. They are the storehouses for raw materials, both for domestic and industrial use. Forests intercept clouds and convert them into rains. Rains give water. Water means crops. Crops mean food, and food is life. The chief product that forests supply is wood. We require wood from our cradle to the coffin. Man's first home was the forest. Forests protect soil from erosion, regulates the stream flow, conserve water resources, increase infiltration rate and water holding capacity. They discipline the rivers and control the floods. They preserve the fertility of the topsoil and thus increase agricultural yields. They purify the air and maintain the atmosphere. In short, they are the guardians of our soil and our climate. We need them for our very survival, existence and continuance. Balance of nature. Wildlife plays an important role in maintaining the delicate balance of nature. The food chain consisting of producers, herbivores and carnivores is disturbed. It will lead to many problems. For example, herbivores like deer and antelopes are killed in a forest. The carnivores like tigers and lions will not get food. Hence they enter our human settlements, attack our domestic animals, and if possible, attack human beings also. If carnivores are destroyed, the herbivores like deer and antelopes, they increase their population and they destroy our crops and affect our food production. If we kill the snakes, the rat population will increase. They damage our crops and affect our food production. The elimination of birds allows multiplication of insects which cause innumerable pests to our crops and affect our food production. Genetic resources. The wild flora and fauna have an immense value as genetic resources and gene banks for breeding programs in agriculture, poultry, fisheries. Causes for wildlife extinction. Many wild animals have become extinct due to various human and natural activities. Hunting. The indiscriminate hunting of wild animals for food, pleasure, safety, and commercial exploitation have caused large-scale extinction of wild animals. The disappearance of dodo, a unique bird of Mauritius, and the agile and beautiful cheetah from India are the recent examples for extinction of wildlife. Habitat destruction. Habitat destruction has assumed alarming proportions in recent years. Forests are being converted into human settlements, rail and roadways, croplands, grazing grounds, dams, harbors, reservoirs, and mining sites. Destruction of trees for timber and firewood often deprive wild animals their palatable food and affect their survival. Overexploitation. It is a serious threat to wildlife. Overfishing is seriously depleting the marine and freshwater living resources. Many species of fish, whales and sea turtles are facing total extinction as they are caught by fishing nets and killed. The wide use of variety of plants, animals and their products in various industries, pharmaceuticals, perfumes, cosmetics and decoration souvenirs is resulting in their extinction. Environmental pollution. The pollution of our air, land and water has adversely degraded the important habitats and affected their wildlife. By drinking water from polluted rivers, many wild animals are getting killed. Natural calamities. Natural calamities. The various natural calamities like floods, forest fires, epidemics, earthquakes, volcanoes have caused large-scale destruction of wildlife. Introduction of exotic species. Intentionally or unintentionally introducing exotic species is affecting native and indigenous species by means of competition for food, shelter, predation and transmission of diseases, etc. Concept of threatened species. The International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, IUCN, has categorized the rare animals into 4 categories. They are endangered, vulnerable, rare and threatened species. Endangered species. They are likely to become extinct in near future if the present adverse factors continue to operate. Vulnerable species. They are not at present endangered, but they are likely to move into endangered category in the near future. Rare species. They are with small populations in the world. They are not endangered or vulnerable, but they are at risk. They are present only in certain geographical areas and habitats of the world. Threatened species. The term threatened is used in the context of conservation of species belonging to in any one of the above 3 categories. Nearly 100 years ago, there was plenty of wildlife in our forests. The majestic Indian lion, the king of beasts and symbol of bravery, has been ruthlessly persecuted, and it is now confined to forests of Gujarat. The future generations and our children will ask us how a lion look like if our conservation attempts fail and if this species becomes extinct? Similarly, the fearsome tiger, which roamed freely in our forests, is on the verge of extinction, and we have to rely on World Wildlife Fund, WWF, project to save the tiger. The great Indian rhinoceros is fighting its last battle in the swamps of Kaziranga in Assam, where a few hundreds only are left. The blackbuck, which is considered as the state animal of Andhra Pradesh, the four-horned antelope, typical of South India, and the bird, the great Indian bustard, are ruthlessly hunted out, and they are on the verge of extinction. The most threatened birds and mammals are birds, common name, great Indian bustard, zoological name. Government of India has constituted a wildlife board in 1952. This board has sponsored national parks and sanctuaries, among other things. In 1972, a new Wildlife Protection Act was passed. Under this act, many sanctuaries and national parks have been created. This act prohibits killing, hunting, poisoning, and trapping of wild animals. To protect endangered animals, many biosphere reserves have also been created since 1986. Certain projects have also been taken up to protect wildlife. National park, it is the forest area strictly reserved for the betterment of both flora and fauna. No human activity is allowed in national park. There are at present 80 national parks in India. Sanctuary, it is the forest area reserved for the protection of fauna. There are about 440 sanctuaries in India. In a sanctuary, limited human activities are allowed. Minor forest products, harvesting of timber can be done. Biosphere reserves, about 13 biosphere reserves have been created. In a biosphere reserve, 3 zones are identified: core zone, buffer zone, manipulation zone. In the central core zone, no human activity is allowed. In the buffer zone, limited activity is allowed. In the outer manipulation zone, large number of human activities are allowed. In a biosphere reserve, the traditional lifestyles of tribals are also protected. Wildlife management. Proper wildlife management is necessary for successful wildlife protection. Various measures have been taken up. Enforcements of acts and laws. From time to time, various state governments and central government have passed various laws and acts which should be implemented strictly and effectively for preservation of wildlife. Improvement of habitat. The mistakes committed in the past are to be corrected. Forest cover is to be increased, and vigorous afforestation and social forestry schemes are to be undertaken. Breeding of wildlife. Artificial breeding and propagation of wildlife must be taken up by employing genetic engineering. By doing this, the most endangered animals which are going to be extinct must be saved from extinction. Education and awareness. Wildlife education may be included in the curriculum for school and college level. TV and other media should be employed extensively to educate the masses about the importance of wildlife. Judicious management. The judicious management of wildlife will contribute to the economic development of the country. Wildlife tourism promotion. Foreign tourists who visit wildlife sanctuaries bring much needed foreign exchange by indiscriminate killing and shooting of wildlife. We are killing the goose that lays golden eggs. It is time in India now we should preach and practice the shooting of wildlife, not with fearsome guns, but with a delicate camera. And the trick of the trigger must be replaced by the click of the camera.